Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Wang Qiu's predicted spiritual shock did not come. Instead, Huo Yuhao continued to punch at her with all his strength. Using strength against me. Just as this thought rose in Wang Qiu's mind, Huo Yuhao struck her with his fist. According to her original calculations and her understanding of Huo Yuhao, she could easily swat his right fist to the side with a palm strike. If Huo Yuhao did not use his spiritual shock with his strength, there was no way he could resist the strength of her right hand. However, this judgment was based on Wang Qiu's past understanding of Huo Yuhao. What if his offensive capabilities had changed? The moment she hit his right fist with her left palm, Wang Qiu sensed that something was amiss. Huo Yuhao's fist was not filled with spiritual power, but it was shockingly strong. Her palm was not powerful enough to knock his fist to one side. However, Wang Qiu brimmed with fighting experience. Since she could not knock it aside, she immediately lowered her wrist and changed it from a palm strike to a push as she tried to block Huo Yuhao's fist. Even so, she changed her attack at the last minute, and hence was unable to maximize her strength. Under the immense strength of Huo Yuhao's right fist, he was able to strike her left shoulder. Wang Qiu grunted, and her body was sent flying. Her hand, which she had used to grab Huo Yuhao's head, let go. How can this be possible? Ning Qian and Wu Feng stared at this scene in shock. While they both knew that Huo Yuhao was strong, they had never expected him to be so strong to the point where he could resist Wang Qiu in a head-on fight. This is a face-to-face fight, pure and simple. Doesn't he have only 5 rings? Why is he so strong? Questions surfaced in Ning Qian and Wu Feng's minds non-stop. Since the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament, they had both trained hard and improved rapidly. After they made it to the semifinals, their confidence peaked, and they even anticipated their showdown against the Tang sect in the finals. When the explosion happened, causing the finals to be called off, some, if not all of them, were despondent. They would not be able to defeat the Tang sect under Wang Qiu's leadership, and this was their greatest regret. However, today, in this mysterious yin-yang love-querying valley, they finally understood the difference between the Tang sect and themselves. Jiang Nan, whom they perceived to be the weakest, was able to defeat both of them by herself. If one said that it was because she specialized in close combat, and hence had an advantage in this small space, what about the fight before them right now? What about the fight between Huo Yuhao and Wang Qiu? What could they say? While victory and defeat had yet to be decided, Huo Yuhao now had an absolute advantage over Wang Qiu, forcing her back step by step. If Huo Yuhao alone was already so powerful, how powerful were the others of Shrek's 7 monsters? When the Tang sect defeated the Holy Ghost sect, everyone, both those from Shrek Academy and outsiders, attributed it to luck. The only thing they could not explain was Huo Yuhao's mysterious final attack. However, they personally experienced it today, forcing both Ning Qian and Wu Feng to admit that there was a huge disparity between the Tang sect and themselves. This was no small difference. She crashed, rebounded and landed. Like a lioness, Wang Qiu bounced back into the air instantly. When she had fought Huo Yuhao in close combat just now, she let go of her golden dragon spear. At this moment, it was back in her hands. A light screen appeared in front of her, blocking any possibility of Huo Yuhao continuing his attacks. However, he did not continue. Instead, he stood where the two of them had clashed. On his forehead, a piece of metal of his helmet slid to one side to reveal a mysterious vertical eye. A mystical golden light appeared as well. Oh no, he's going to use spiritual shock. Wang Qiu subconsciously let go of her golden dragon spear, as she used all her might to concentrate her spiritual power. At the same time, her soul power rose around her. A golden dragon swirled around her body. Offense turned into defense. However, the spiritual shock which she had expected did not appear. Instead, a shocking scene took place before her. Ripples started to appear in the air nearby. Twisted, round waves started to spread outward with Huo Yuhao at their center. Rays of light shone, and the air around him twisted. Everything around him looked mysteriously like ripples of water. The area of the wheel was not large. At this moment, it was completely enveloped within the ripples and started to twist. There was no dead end or crack. Wang Qiu had never seen Huo Yuhao use this power before, and she naturally did not know its secret. Her heart turned cold, and she slashed horizontally with her golden dragon spear. A golden light screen started to spread outward. A patch of golden light burst forth from her spear as it attacked the distorted air. Wang Qiu's objective was simple. She tried to find out what it was by attacking it to ascertaining his location. Once she found him, she would lock onto him and then attack him with all her might. However, this powerful ability, which Huo Yuhao had used as his trump card against the Holy Ghost sect, could not be overcome so easily. As golden light dashed past the ripples, it disappeared soundlessly. The air around him started to tremble even more intensely, but the area where a bit of light could still be seen disappeared completely. That was right, it disappeared completely. It was as if Huo Yuhao had never been there. At this moment, Wang Qiu sensed that something was wrong. Can this transformation come from the yin-yang love-querying valley? However, she soon discarded this thought. While this place was mysterious, it operated on set principles. Whenever that mysterious voice spoke, it would not backtrack on its words. Since it said that it would let her fight Huo Yuhao, there should be no unexpected change to it. Furthermore, Huo Yuhao specialized in spiritual power. This should be a new ability of his. However, he hasn't increased his soul rings. Did he make this ability himself? The ability Huo Yuhao was using now was not something he had made himself. No matter how powerful he was, he had yet to reach that stage. Among the 4 soul skills the Skydream Iceworm gave him, the most useless one seemed to be spiritual interference. But as Huo Yuhao increased his own spiritual power ceaselessly, he was able to combine it with imitation to form this mysterious domain. He called it the Skydream domain. However, Huo Yuhao's cultivation was still limited. He had to accumulate power for some time before he could use the Skydream domain. Wang Qiu was the first one to experience the full version of it. 3 Huo Yuhaos suddenly appeared in front of Wang Qiu. 3 rays of emerald green light shot at her simultaneously from different directions. Wang Qiu was shocked. She crossed her golden dragon spear with her left hand. She stabbed toward the left and punched toward the right, and her coiling golden dragon appeared and swirled around her body as she faced the last attack head-on. However, she discovered that she had been tricked. The attacks that came from 3 different directions disappeared in the next instant. Her attempts to resist it with all her might were for naught. An illusion. Wang Qiu sensed the source of the problem. However, she did not dare to be careless. Right now, she was at the edge of the space. At least, she still remembered where was. If she charged forward, she would be trapped within the domain. Then she would be in even bigger trouble. She held the golden dragon spear in front of her protectively, and her coiling golden dragon continued to twist and turn around her protectively. Wang Qiu closed her eyes. Instantly, her body emitted a layer of mysterious golden light. This was her innate skill, Golden Dragon's perception. While Golden Dragon's perception could not break Huo Yuhao's domain, it was able to greatly augment her analysis of her own predicament. Once an actual attack came, she would be able to resist it and counterattack. The mysterious scene was now in a stalemate. Wang Qiu's golden dragon perception and coiling golden dragon both required soul power. Huo Yuhao's Skydream domain not only required soul power, but also required spiritual power. If they continued this stalemate, it would become a competition to see who could last the longest. I've lost. Huo Yuhao's voice rang out. Then, the twisted surroundings disappeared completely. He remained where he was as if nothing had changed. However, Wang Qiu's attack in his direction had been futile. How did you lose? Wang Qiu asked, glaring at Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao smiled bitterly and said, "Don't forget, I only have 5 rings. Furthermore, the area of this domain-type soul skill is too large, so naturally, much of my soul power is going to be wasted. From the start, I only had a few reliable skills. If we continue to fight, I don't really have a chance. Furthermore, your golden dragon perception checks my domain. My only way to win would be a battle of attrition. However, like this, my soul power will run out first. Hence, the final victor will still be you." Huo Yuhao was extremely sincere, but Wang Qiu sensed that something was amiss. "You did not lose, you still have so many techniques," she said angrily. Huo Yuhao smiled bitterly and said, "Tell me, among my moves, which one can beat you?" "You have," Wang Qiu was just about to say, "the pride of the ice and snow empresses," which he used that day. However, she immediately realized that he was only able to use it in the purple golden butterfly dragon transformation state. However, as he had not fused with Wang Donga, there was no way he could use it. She thought about it, and realized that there really was no skill he could use to beat her. You can use a milk bottle, she said with much difficulty. Huo Yuhao stared at her with disdain and said, "Can you be more reasonable? We're having a fair fight, and you want me to use a milk bottle? Do you think this place will allow me to fight you unfairly? Furthermore, if I use a milk bottle, I'll lose my concentration. I wouldn't even be able to maintain the domain. I've lost. Donga and I have lost. You pass." Indeed, as Huo Yuhao admitted defeat, the voice rang out, "Wang Chua wins. Pass." The golden light flashed, and Wang Chua disappeared with a suspicious look on her face. Huo Yuhao and Wang Donga returned to their original places. Could Huo Yuhao really beat Wang Chua? Even he did not know the answer to this question. He did have many attacks he could use, but how powerful was Wang Chua? She was known as the strongest soul master with a dragon martial soul. Wang Chua's strongest trait was that if she faced a more powerful opponent, she would respond with strength in kind. The strength of her opponent was often enough to make her perform extraordinarily. Furthermore, with her ultimate strength, even if she ran out of soul power, her fighting abilities might not decrease. Furthermore, if she used all her strength, even a soul sage or a soul doluo would not dare to fight her head-on. Huo Yuhao had never planned on winning. He planned to face her head-on and gain an advantage before conceding defeat. This was the best possible outcome. This would not cause him to lose confidence in facing Wang Chua, but it would also clearly show the results of this battle. Just when Huo Yuhao thought that they would be sent back to their original spots to continue with the mysterious wheel, the calm voice rang out coldly. "In a 2-against-1 fight, you did not use all your strength and hence violated the rules. You conceded defeat deliberately and thus, you will be punished with the deep adventure." 2 rays of light flashed, and before Huo Yuhao and Wang Donga could say anything in response, they were whisked away. This? Wu Feng and Ning Qian were both shocked. When Dai Huabin faced off against Zhulu earlier on, he conceded defeat straight away. However, this mysterious place did not say that they cheated, and instead, it allowed Zhulu to progress. Under her pleas, it then sent her to deep adventure as well. However, after the fair fight between Huo Yuhao and Wang Chua, they were deemed to have cheated because Wang Donga did not participate. What kind of rule was this? The light flashed, and the wheel appeared once more. This time, the light appeared underneath Ning Qian's feet. "Only Wu Feng and I are left." Ning Qian could not help but look at Wu Feng. Wu Feng was looking at her. Ning Qian had decided if she ended up in a one-on-one fight, she would concede defeat. After all, there was no way she could beat Wu Feng one-on-one. If I have to go to the deep adventure, so be it. Even though Ning Qian clearly knew that as an auxiliary type soul master, entering the deep adventure was akin to a death sentence, she was resolute in her decision. Emotionally, she was still confused. She had always known that Wu Feng liked her, but she was heterosexual. The only one she liked in the younger generation was Huo Yuhao. However, Huo Yuhao had chosen Wang Donga, who was better than her in all aspects. This made her lose confidence. To Ning Qian, the sea god's fated blind date was a huge humiliation that she would always remember. This time, in the yin-yang love-querying valley, after she heard Wu Feng's confession, her emotions were extremely conflicted. She was touched by Wu Feng's love for her. If I were a guy, this would be great. Just as a flurry of thoughts crossed Ning Qian's mind, the wheel in front of her finally stopped. A familiar symbol appeared before her. This was the symbol which had appeared in front of Shusansha. It was a pair of lips. Dazedly, she lifted her head to look at Wu Feng. Wu Feng looked back at her. However, right now, Wu Feng's eyes brimmed with joy. Blur, blur, the sound of vomiting resounded in the air for a few minutes before finally stopping. Bei Bei and Shusansha stared at each other in anger. The odor from their bodies reached its peak. However, as they looked at each other's pathetic state, the expressions on their faces started to change. Finally. Ha ha ha. Reality proves that I have absolutely no interest in you, Shusansha said proudly. Bei Bei said angrily, "What crap? Do you think I'm interested in you? You bastard, you dirted me. Hurry up and clean me. It's so uncomfortable. Where is this place?" As they spoke, the two of them finally reacted to their new surroundings as they surveyed them. The place they were at was a pile of rubble. They could see ruined buildings and scenes of devastation all around them. It resembled a city, but it was evidently different from the situation in the Yin-Yang love-querying valley. Shu Sansha activated his soul power. A black light swept past their bodies. The special water-type power of the Xuanwu cleaned the vomit from their bodies. Bei Bei also activated his lightning-type soul power to get rid of the smell in the air. This looks like... Shu Sansha and Bei Bei looked at each other, because they both found the architectural style here familiar. They looked into the distance, where a tall building confirmed their suspicions. Shocked, the two of them said in unison, "Radiant City." At this moment, the calm voice that had tortured them so much rang in their minds. The deep adventure shall commence. The theme of the adventure is breakout. You're required to break out of Radiant City, and get back to the Western Mountains to pass the deep adventure. The environment around you is real. If you die in this round, you'll die for real. If you don't return to the Western Mountains in 3 days, you will have failed this round, and be punished with death. Begin. The voice disappeared, and a light golden hourglass appeared near the corner of their eyes. Sand slowly trickled down so as to keep track of the time. Also, the hourglass sinisterly reminded them that they were still under the Yin-Yang love-querying valley's control. When they sensed this change, Bei Bei and Shu Sansha both cursed. One could only imagine the state Radiant City was currently in. Having undergone such a destructive explosion, the entire city should be in a state of lockdown. No one knew how many soldiers and powerful people were around them. While the two of them were not weak, this was still the capital of the Sun Moon Empire. How could they return to the Western Mountains so easily? "Let's strategize," said Bei Bei, who had calmed down before Shu Sansha, as he waved his hands. Shu Sansha nodded meaningfully. They were both elites of Shrek Academy. Faced with danger, they put aside their anger and regained their cool. He looked at his surroundings, and they found a rather secluded corner and hid. Bei Bei said helplessly, "At least we were given 3 days, not 3 hours." Shu Sansha looked at him, annoyed, and said, "How are your wounds?" Bei Bei said, "I can attack." "You?" Shu Sansha laughed bitterly and said, "Better than you. I have 70% of my strength left. Let's pray we aren't too unlucky. Perhaps we can even sneak out." At this moment, they heard footsteps and a voice. "Quick, search that area. See if there are any casualties. Search there too." Bei Bei stared at Shu Sansha with an odd gaze as he growled in a low voice, "Shut your damn trap in the future." Light flashed, and Dai Huobin found himself in an army camp. To his surprise, he was wearing a uniform. At this moment, he stood outside a huge tent. It was dark around him. It was nighttime. This is... When he saw this familiar scene, Dai Huobin was stunned. He even doubted whether everything he had just experienced was a dream. Maybe this was reality. However, reality was cruel. The plain voice from the Yin-Yang love-querying valley sounded, "The deep adventure will start now. The theme is rescue. Your father, the White Tiger Duke Dai Hao, is being targeted by an assassin. You must stop the assassin to help your father escape danger. You are now one of his bodyguards. No one will know who you really are. You can only depend on your intellect and your abilities. The scenario in this round is completely real, which means that if you can't save your father, not only will you die, but your father will die too. 5 minutes later, your father will bring men out on a patrol. After 2 hours, you will regain your ability to speak. You can't stop him from going out. The enemy can appear at any moment. To win, you have to help your father return to the army camp successfully. If the White Tiger Duke dies, you fail, and will be punished with death." When Dai Huobin heard the voice and the requirements for this round, he could not help stare in the air in shock. He had been sent thousands of miles away, to the Ming-Do mountain range to his father's camp. However, his father would not recognize him, and would even undergo an assassination attempt. What is going on?" Just as he stood there in shock, the bodyguard next to him trembled. Then, a familiar smell wafted over. Dai Huobin squinted, and to his shock, he realized that the other bodyguard had turned into Zhu Lulu. Dai Huobin wanted to shout, but he realized that he could not say anything. At this moment, Zhu was already looking at him. She was evidently deeply touched. Instantly, she threw herself into his arms. Tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. While the two of them could not speak, Dai Huobin could see from Zhulu's face that she had already forgiven him. At this moment, Zhulu's body froze. Her expression transitioned from touch to shock. Evidently, she had heard something. Zhulu grabbed Dai Huabin and squatted down immediately. Her finger made rapid motions in the soil, and words appeared in front of him. Dai Huabin opened his eyes wide in shock. Her deep adventure was exactly the same as his. You're so dumb. You passed this round, so why are you here? Dai Huabin wrote quickly on the ground. Zhulu shook her head, and a smile crept across her face. She lifted her head and kissed him. Then, she wrote on the ground, "We shall live and die together." Dai Huabin's body trembled. He looked at Zhulu and nodded vigorously at her. At this moment, a bugle sounded. Dai Huabin was the son of the White Tiger Duke. He had been in the military since he was young, and naturally understood what the bugle meant. This was a signal to gather, meant specifically for the White Tiger bodyguards. Indeed, a huge amount of White Tiger bodyguards started to move. The two of them wore the apparel of White Tiger bodyguards too, so naturally, they ran together with the rest. Father is going to experience an assassination attempt, what can I do? What should I do? At this moment, he realized he was still lost. He could not speak, and even if he could, his father could not recognize him. If he told his father about the assassination attempt, his father would surely not believe him. Dai Huabin had never experienced such a situation before. His thoughts were scattered, and he did not know what to do. However, he was clear that this task was no joke. If he failed, not only would Zhulu and he die, but his father would too. At this moment, Dai Huabin could only concentrate. The White Tiger bodyguards were the most elite soldiers under the White Tiger Duke. They gathered quickly. From afar, Dai Huabin saw his father, clad in armor, standing in front of the main tent. His expression was icy cold. A servant brought his steed over. It was the dashing White Tiger colt. The White Tiger Duke Dai Hao's gaze swept over his bodyguards, then he nodded and said, "The temporary peace did not cause you to slack off. I'm pleased. All right, small team 1, patrol with me. The rest are dismissed. Let's go." As he spoke, he leaped onto the White Tiger colt. 4 other guards mounted their horses too. Section 1 of the White Tiger bodyguards ran toward the stable and mounted a horse each. They set off together with the White Tiger Duke. Undoubtedly, Dai Huabin and Zhulu were part of small team 1. The White Tiger bodyguards were personal soldiers of the White Tiger Duke. Even though the war had ended, and the White Tiger Duke no longer held the position of marshal, his bodyguards would still follow him everywhere. In the White Tiger bodyguards, 100 men formed one small team, 500 men formed one mid-team, and 1,500 men formed one large team. The entire White Tiger bodyguards comprised 3 companies, which was equivalent to the strength of 1 regiment. There were also some special operatives. This was the maximum amount of soldiers Dai Hao, as the White Tiger Duke, was allowed. Dai Hao rode out on the White Tiger colt in front of them. He was not fast, and the White Tiger bodyguards caught up to him quickly. Every one of them rode a dragon-scale horse, and wore a complete set of white armor. In the blackness of the night, they were extremely eye-catching. The rhythmic clatter of metal could be heard throughout the entire Ming-Do mountain range. To protect against a sudden invasion by the Sun-Moon Empire, the Star-Do Empire had stationed troops in the Ming-Do mountain range. The White Tiger Duke was in charge of the Ming-Do mountain range, and had been appointed as the commander of the Western Army. There were 3 other commanders as well, all of whom were important officials of the Star-Luo Empire. The Ming-Do mountain range extended south for thousands of kilometers from the borders of the Star-Luo Empire, the Heavenly Soul Empire, and the Sun-Moon Empire. It was named from when it was formed from the crash between the Sun-Moon continent and the Doluo continent. Translators note, the Chinese word for Ming is formed from the combination of the Chinese words for sun and moon. The Ming-Do mountain range had complicated terrain. Weird rock formations were everywhere, and there was little vegetation. Thanks to this natural barrier, the Star-Luo Empire did not face as much pressure from the Sun-Moon Empire. Coupled with the vastness of the Star-Luo Empire, while it was just one of 3 original countries of the Doluo continent, it was still bigger than the Sun-Moon Empire. With a heavy garrison, it would not be easy for the Sun-Moon Empire to invade through here. However, while the Ming-Do mountain range was good for defense, it was still difficult to station troops there because of its geographical features. Coupled with its long and narrow terrain, garrison troops would naturally have to be dispersed over a wide area. The White Tiger Duke would patrol often to inspect the various troops of the Western Army. He was famous for his strict application of military justice. In the past few years, the Western Army had been impenetrable. In the small skirmishes they had with the Sun Moon Empire's own garrison troops, they had never experienced any defeats. It was also why the Sun Moon Empire trod carefully here. This time, Dai Hao went out to inspect the 3 camps that were 150 kilometers south of his main camp. He headed out at night so that he could return to his main camp before nightfall tomorrow. When Huo Yuhao heard the cold voice announce that he and Wang Donga would be sent directly to the deep adventure round, he could not help but curse despite his normally mature nature. This is too unfair, he thought. The mysterious yin-yang love-querying valley seemed to be targeting him. He did not feel that he had cheated. In fact, if they really continued to fight, he might not have been able to best Wang Qiu'er. Did it actually want him and Wang Donga to join forces to defeat Wang Qiu'er before sending them to the deep adventure round? What kind of logic was that? However, there was no chance for him to vent his frustration. He and Wang Donga fell into a patch of golden light. Everything around him became unclear. He felt as if his entire body was being twisted. It was agonizing. With much difficulty, he finally escaped from this pain. To his shock, he realized that he was now on a horse. The horse galloped and he was almost thrown off. Fortunately for him, he grabbed the saddle in time to steady himself. Where is this place? Huo Yuhao looked in front of him. There were men in front and behind of him. They all wore familiar white armor. It was night, and everything seemed slightly blurry as the dragon scale horse underneath him galloped. He turned his head to look to the side and recognized Wang Donga, who was seated next to him. The two of them looked too obvious in this group. Wang Donga could still blend in, as she was wearing the white armor. However, Huo Yuhao wore his human-shaped soul tool, forged from rare metals. What made him curious was the fact that while his human-shaped soul tool weighed at least 250 kilos, his steed seemed to have no problems carrying him. Yuhao, where are we? Wang Donga asked curiously. Huo Yuhao chuckled bitterly and said, I don't know. Is this part of the test? At this moment, the calm voice rang out in their minds. The deep adventure begins. The theme of this round is rescue. You're now on patrol with the White Tiger Duke. After a while, there will be an ambush. Both of you look like White Tiger bodyguards, and you will not be recognized due to your appearance or your special equipment. The requirements for this round are to assist the White Tiger Duke after he has been ambushed, and help him to escape back to his camp. At the same time, you have to keep Dai Huobin and Zhu Lu, both of whom are also in this group, alive. Only when all 3 of them return to the White Tiger Duke's main camp successfully will you have succeeded. If any one of them dies, you will fail and be punished with death. The round starts now. After he heard the contents of this test, Huo Yuhao did not know what to say. What nonsense is this? Not only do I have to save someone, but I also have to babysit them. Furthermore, the rescue target is. No useful tip was provided. He did not know who his enemy was, or how many of them would appear. He could guess the capabilities of his foes. Anyone who dared to assassinate the White Tiger Duke could not be weak, and should at least be a titled Doluo. After all, the White Tiger Duke was a powerful soul Doluo. Furthermore, as a Duke of the Empire, and the commander of the 3 armies, he and his personal bodyguards would be equipped with powerful soul tools, too. The stronger he was, the more powerful his potential foes would be. What angered Huo Yuhao even more was that he had to rescue Dai Huobin and Zhu Lu. Furthermore, he could not fail. If any one of them died, they would fail. Right now, the fates of Dai Hao, Dai Huobin, and Zhu Lu were all tied together with his and Wang Donga's. Anything that had to do with Dai Hao would trigger Huo Yuhao. However, he was trained under the ultimate soldier plan, and hence, in terms of his resilience and mental strength, he was way superior to Dai Huobin. He was angry and upset for a short while, but he soon calmed down. He started to analyze the situation in front of him. At the same time, he activated his spiritual detection to sweep everyone around him and get a sense of the situation. Wang Donga regained her cool, too. When she felt Huo Yuhao sharing his spiritual detection with her, she felt more at ease. She knew that Huo Yuhao had been able to calm down. As long as he was calm, it would be fine. Wang Donga knew of Huo Yuhao's grievance with the White Tiger Duke. When she heard that they were out here to save Dai Hao, she was also shocked. She could not help but look at Huo Yuhao. Indeed, Huo Yuhao had an odd expression on his face. However, to her relief, his expression soon returned to normal. It meant he was able to calm down. Yuhao is becoming more and more mature. Even in such a situation, he calmed down almost immediately. Yuhao, how's your soul power? Before they came, Huo Yuhao had fought fiercely with Wang Qiu'er. Huo Yuhao said, it's at its peak. The yin-yang love querying valley is generous. If it had not replenished my soul power to its peak, I'm afraid we'd have no chance at all. Quickly, the feedback from spiritual detection was seared into his mind. The White Tiger Duke brought 4 special guards who rode at the front with him. With his spiritual detection, Huo Yuhao could sense that they had at least 6 rings. Coupled with the White Tiger Duke, who was an 8-ringed soul doluor, they were definitely not weak. The other White Tiger bodyguards around him were all soul masters, as well. While they were not terribly powerful, some of the leaders of the small groups had the power of 2-ringed or 3-ringed soul masters. To normal soldiers, the White Tiger bodyguards were indeed elites. They were all well-trained and well-armed. Even 4-ringed and 5-ringed soul masters would not dare to take them on. However, not all of the White Tiger bodyguards were soul masters. For any country, the number of soul masters was always going to be a problem. Even for the Sun Moon Empire, which tapped into the strength of their entire country, they had only formed a few soul master legions. It was a rare sight to see so many soul masters gather back in Radiant City. At least 1/3 of all the powerful soul masters on the continent had been involved in the ambush against the palace. After he had an idea of the overall strength on his side, Huo Yuhao made some calculations. Then, he started to scour the group for his target. Fortunately, the odd space did not treat them too harshly. Huo Yuhao quickly found Dai Huobin and Zhu Lu. Instantly, he reached out to them with his spiritual detection, and was able to complete his spiritual detection sharing with them. At this moment, Dai Huobin was panicking. He just regained his voice when he felt Huo Yuhao's spiritual detection sharing hit him. Dai Huobin and Zhu Lu felt their minds buzz. The blackness around them lit up, and they could sense every small change in a 50-meter radius. This sensation, which made them feel as if they were looking down from the sky, surprised them. His words entered their minds. Dai Huobin, Zhu Lu, it's Huo Yuhao. Wang Dong'er and I are taking part in this deep adventure with you. No matter what differences we had in the past, we now face the same problem. You should know what to do. In particular, this concerns the life of your father, Dai Huobin. What you're sensing now is my spiritual detection, which has finished connecting to you. From now on, my spiritual sharing will always be activated. If you trust me, listen to my orders. Only then can we stand a chance of saving your father. Do you understand? Even though that person was Huo Yuhao's father too, his first and only visit to this camp took place 5 years ago with Dai Yueheng. Hence, he had never recognized the Duke as his father. This video will end here.